Anthony, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Paddington. Paddington is giving staff report tonight.
Sweet.
Thanks, Fiona.
Hello,
Hi, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good. How's everybody?
Good.
Good.
I don't see Justine. She's usually here early. I'm gonna just remind her it's this Tuesday. I did tell her.
Yeah, it's an unusual day.
Yeah.
Our rhythm is off.
And I already set up the live stream, so. we're good.
Oops.
Hey, Justine.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Good night. I really like his festive bandana.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Remember, stuck it on him.
Anything about Lauren this evening?
I just saw Will at Risk Management and he said you'll see Lauren soon. So my guess is she's just running a few minutes late.
Okay.
But start without
Seems
her.
to me we can probably start.
Yeah.
It's 5:30. It's 5:30. Calls meeting to order. Volunteer to read the mission and vision. I haven't done it for a while. I'll read the mission and
ahead.
vision. Right. At Aldo Leopold Charter School, the human and natural environments serve as text and lab for learning through direct experience, inquiry, and stewardship. Aldo Leopold Charter School graduates will use the skills, perspectives, and information they gain at school to enhance their own lives and to advance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to do the roll call. I'm gonna take this off the agenda. Roll call. Making sense. Alex Tager, are you here?
I'm here.
Alex McKenzie, are you here? Jim McIntosh, are you here? Harry Brown, I'm here. We are missing Lauren.
And Sebastian.
And Sebastian Marie. All right. Is he feeling okay?
I don't know.
I haven't seen him today.
He
I
was at
don't.
work today.
Oh, was it?
Well,
Okay.
he was working. I don't know if it's-
Okay, agenda review. Hopefully people had a chance to see the draft agenda. Any changes necessary? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve? Second makes motion, Jim McIntosh seconds motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Review of meeting minutes from November. Thank you, Jim McIntosh.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Sorry about the tardiness. I'll try to get these here before the end of 2024. Yes.
Didn't we vote on that?
Yeah, but then we changed the word. We added one word.
Right.
and we
So
voted
is
on
it,
that.
is it correctly reported on?
No
the
problem.
Policy was updated or? So we voted on?
We voted on it. I don't remember how that, is it not listed? Lauren?
In the minutes, it says Howard reported that the nepotism policy has been updated in the governing council bylaws.
Was it not an action item? I'm sorry that I can't remember, but if you're looking at,
Right, it doesn't sound to me like it was an action.
No, it wasn't. It was just an update. I
Right.
think we had already done it the meeting before and it was
And we
like,
said
okay,
we
now
would
it's
just add
in
it.
there.
honestly, don't remember.
That was my understanding, and that's why I was not more specific.
It's not
Instead of
clear.
quoting it chapter and verse.
It's not, I asked about it last week, Kelly Callahan, she said it was great,
Okay,
the way you did it, she said
Okay.
perfectly great.
okay.
All right. Thanks.
Well,
Just was checking
we're
on.
Working through that.
She also said we need to make sure to submit the paperwork to DEC for the members.
Yep.
Who's doing that?
I'm doing it, and I committed, as you,
It needs to be quick.
yeah, in the,
30 days.
in the hearing.
Oh, you did it?
I committed to making sure that happens timely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. We got a nice nod. You probably couldn't see it on the screen, but
I left
mentioned
it
Missy
and I haven't
Brown.
gotten to watch the end yet. I'm gonna watch it next week.
Some holiday
I don't know
viewing.
if it was at the end or not, but I said basically, you know, I've got really good communication with Missy Brown, and she nodded and smiled, so
Good.
she kind of backed me up for the commission.
Good, nice. That's awesome.
Yes, new members and changes to bylaws, frankly,
Yes.
also have to be submitted.
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from November 14th?
Motion to approve the minutes from November
Alex.
14.
And moves. I'll second. Mary seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Did you note that Lauren has arrived?
I did.
Okay. Excellent. See any public? No public online? Business manager report. Justine. Thanks for sending Mike. I'm not sure why we didn't get you.
Yeah, it's hard to, we had to take our kids to school, so we both couldn't go there. But yeah, I was on Zoom, so I watched the whole presentation, so I think it went really well. So great job.
Yeah, and thank Mike for being there. I think it went well. Yeah, it did. Great.
Do you want to lead us through your report?
Sure, let me share my screen. All right, so we went over the reports in our finance meeting yesterday. Oops. As far as revenues, all revenues are coming in as normal. I've been doing those RFRs on a monthly basis. The only revenue that we are missing is the lease reimbursement. We did get that lease reimbursement award mid-November. I think we have a bar tonight to get the budget approved. I have submitted Q1 and Q2 today for the lease reimbursement. So I'm hoping that we get that revenue in January. It's looking around 75,000 that we should be getting for both Q1 and Q2 total. But everything else as far as revenues is, looking good. I actually just submitted RFRs today as well, up until December 15th. So hopefully those revenues will be coming in beginning of January. Expenditure report, page 2, looking at the operational fund. You can see the available balance is 421,000. We did get the draft financials since the audit is done. It's not yet public, so I can't share the audit with you, but we can submit our cash balances to PED. I have done that. They haven't approved it yet, but based on the draft audit, we're looking at about a little over $300,000 budget cut. When the budget was created back in the spring, the previous business manager estimated about $1 million carryover. It was actually about $629,000. So we are going to have to cut the budget a little bit. With that cut, if we were to do that right now, we're still looking at a positive balance, but it's going to be very tight. I think I mentioned in a finance meeting that it's around 51,000 positive. So the 421 is really not a true number. I would say it's more in the $50,000 range. So we have to be tight with our operational fund. We have to look at other funds to see where we can spend those before we start spending operational. And there's some negative funds within the expenditure report. I wouldn't say there's $50,000 worth of negative funds, but just a few hundred dollars there. So by the end of the school year, what I usually do is I do a budget cleanup. So for example, this like career technical education fund, we have salaries and benefits paid from here. Whatever is not covered in this fund, which is about $2,200, that expense will be moved to the operational fund, so it'll show a zero balance. We don't want to overspend the fund. That's what it's looking like now. But again, I do that budget cleanup towards the end of the school year. So all of the funds that are showing negative will be at zero. Do you have any questions on the expenditure report?
I do, Justine.
Okay.
To translate what you said about available funds and the budget needing to be readjusted, if we started the year with 630,000 in cash and the budget as adjusted is going to show something like 50,000 in cash by the end of the year, then we're using $580,000 of our cash carryover.
Yes.
Okay, that's way more than I thought we were using. I knew that we were using about 250 or 300,000 of it. I did not realize it was 580,000 of it.
Same here, Harry. So Justine, could you, for our next meeting, track that for us and we can figure out where it's all gone?
Yeah, so I can look at we can look at purchase orders and see if making sure those purchase orders are coming out of the correct accounts. Maybe there's a purchase order that should have been coming out of, another fund. So we can definitely look at that. And we can move those expenses if needed.
Is your projection based on purchase orders or based on the budgeted? I guess it is. Sorry, I've answered my own question. It's also possible, I suppose, that things like the lease reimbursement money haven't been factored in.
It has.
Oh, it has.
It has, even though you have factored it in.
Yeah, so you can see on page 3, I put the whole purchase order coming out of the lease reimbursement fund here. Even though we don't have budget authority, I know we're going to get that budget authority soon. But I do have the whole lease coming out of there. I don't have it coming out of operational.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear it, but that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else before she moves on?
So we'll get an understanding of where it all went next time.
Yeah, we can I could meet with Hannah sometime in, I guess, either this week or in January And we can look at the purchase orders and make sure that those POs are coming out of the correct account.
That's a lot of purchase orders.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if there was something, but I know like the vehicle purchase, that was capital outlay, it came out of capital. I can't think of anything major. So,
I would
but
say one big expense, I mean, you probably didn't plan for back in April is maybe, Melissa leaving. So you're paying a contracted business manager plus, someone kind of in her position. So that could be part of it.
I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure you're right.
Well, and there's been a night in the finance meeting. If you look at the monthly, we're always 100 in the red each month.
Each month.
She said November because November is an expensive month. We looked at October and it was the same. So it's a monthly problem. It's not, it's, we're overhead's too much.
So if you look at the report, I would say it's the check register. That gives a little more detail. It's on page 9. So this is just for the month of November, but it will show you what is being spent during the month, kind of more in detail. You can see the vendors that we're paying, the revenues that are coming in. So this will give a little bit more detail on that. And maybe there's a service that you have this year that you didn't have last year, that I'm unsure of, but that could be another thing.
No. So that's definitely part of it.
And with that, and we
Yeah.
have new people too.
What's that?
And we have new people.
The new people all replaced an old person except for Maya, which is a brand new position. And Pat too, because it's a brand new position. We had 2 sped teachers last year and 3 this year, but that's, I mean, we had to have that many sped teachers because of our sped load. Yeah, Maya's position is the only one that was not budgeted for. But nor was Pat's budgeted for, but it was necessary. Well, so was
Well,
Maya's.
Avery had previously done that job, right, at a part-time basis?
He was a 0.5, yes.
And so was really only a 0.5 increase?
It's more than that because Maya's a level 3, and she's
Okay.
being paid as a teacher, and full-time. And Avery was a level 1 last year, 0.5.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's much more expensive. There is no question. Because I think Avery was also split last year, 0.5 teacher, and then he got 0.5 EE coordinator, which was some random number that Melissa came up with. That was not a teacher wage. It was lower.
I think that's for some, but not 300,000.
Not 300,000. No, a level 3 teacher starts at 80. So, and then Maya has however many experience.
Okay, thanks, Justine. I think we're ready to go on.
Okay. And then the bank reconciliation, the cash in the bank as of November 30th was of 836,000. There were still outstanding checks of 3,700, which brings a true balance of 832,000, which balances to the general ledger. The last couple of pages showing the balance sheet, showing the funds, each fund and their cash and liabilities, which reconciles to the bank account. So I think your 40-day, it was 201 students, correct, Hannah?
It was.
And then I think you projected 196.
think-
So you will get a slight budget increase in February. I'm not sure. They usually set the unit value at the end of January. So, with those 5 extra kids, you will see a little bit of a budget increase. So that 50,000 could go up to 100,000.
It won't be that much. And I was gonna guess 17. Okay. All right, thanks, Justine.
You're welcome.
You want to tell us about the bars?
Yes, let me share that. Okay. So bar number 14, this is an increase bar for the Public School Capital Outlay Fund for lease reimbursement in the amount of 150,000. Bar number 15. This is a transfer bar for the operational fund. I'm just cleaning up the negative functions that you see. I know in prior years, the school got a few findings for not doing regular bar or budget maintenance. So I try to do this on a quarterly basis because we have the cash reports that are due to PED every quarter, and they look for those negative functions within each fund. So I'm trying to clean up the operational fund and clean up those negative functions with this. So a transfer bar is not increasing or decreasing cash, just simply moving the budget around.
Justine,
Mm-hmm.
I applaud your thoroughness and you're welcome to continue to do this, but I don't believe you have to do all those different objects within a function, and you don't even have to do all the different sub-functions within 2000 if you want to save you some work.
You do. I know the 2000s are one function, but if function 21 is negative, but 22 is positive, that's still a finding. It's the sub functions as well.
I actually won that battle with an auditor. They admitted I was right. And yeah, I'm serious. It was a fight. And so
Maybe-
you don't have to, but you're welcome to, like I say, if you want to.
Maybe Justine
Okay.
doesn't make it, no.
Well,
Yeah, and I bet you are right. I want to be extra cautious and try to clean up that finding. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong except wasted time, and it's your time. So it's up to you.
all right.
Thank you.
Bar number 16, this is a transfer bar for the Youth Conservation Corp. Again, just cleaning up the negative function. So again, moving budget from function 2100 into function 3300. And then the last bar is bar number 17. This is for the Medicaid fund. I'm budgeting the revenues that are currently, the revenues the school currently has received in the amount of $22,794.64 to be used for ancillary services. I'm sure there'll be another bar for this fund. As we get in these revenues, I will budget those revenues received.
Are you not allowed to budget for ones you anticipate but haven't gotten?
We can. Budget was just never established. So when I create the budget in the spring, I do estimate what the school will receive in this fund, but it was never established. So right now I will just do a bar now probably, and then a bar in June for what the school has received for the rest of the year.
Point of information, I'm gonna limit myself to one ignorant financial question per meeting, but for instance, that money that we received from Medicaid, is that sort of a one-on-one exchange, or do we end up, like our lunch program, kind of losing money because of that? In other words,
Did you question, Justine?
Did you say losing money?
Through Medicaid, Jim was saying, do we get all of it back, or do we lose money like we do on our lunch program?
I don't think we get all of it back because the REC does your reporting, so I think they take a percentage of it. But I think it's still worthwhile. I think you get a good amount for, I mean, the reporting's not.
Yeah, and we
Or-
didn't used to do it, and so we got nothing. And I think they only take 12% is, I believe, the amount that REC takes for doing all the reporting and billing and stuff.
Okay,
So we get everything else we get, which is a win.
Yeah,
And that's.
yeah, it's definitely extra money. I mean, yeah, if you don't do it, you don't get it. And this is definitely, I think it's good. So it's done on a quarterly basis and they're kind of slow on the reimbursements. This is one fund that's super slow. I think this 22,000 was from last year that we got in this current year. So
Oh, I didn't even know that because last year I'm like, all we got was $8,000 for all of that reporting work, but that's why I got it. Interesting. Thank you, Justine.
mhm.
So what, give me like an example, what?
Okay, so a kid has physical therapy. In the past, we did not bill Medicaid for that, if that student has Medicaid. Now we contract with a service that does all of that. They take a percentage to do it, but then we get all of that reimbursement, which pays for ancillary services like physical therapy, speech language pathology, occupational therapy, those kinds of things. Yeah.
that's good.
Any other questions on the bars?
Maybe I don't see it, but could you put the bar numbers on the bar sheets? Or is it on this way? Where is it?
Yes, it's the doc ID.
Where my finger is.
It's a dot IB. Okay, there it is. All right, sorry, I just didn't know how to. I mean, I figured it out by what you were talking about, but it's. You know,
No problem.
Thanks, Justine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Jack.
And Jack.
I didn't see
There is no student council. I forgot to tell them it was a Tuesday
Oh.
and you know, Iris often comes and does it and she went to the renewal. So I also kind of figured she'd done her part.
Staff report, Paddington.
Yeah. He's like, nobody's let me jump on their lap yet. The renewal hearing went great. We got lots of positive comments from the commissioners and others up there. The reading alone of the PED, the Charter School Division PED report on us, I was like, my, we just, you know, it really was so just
Positive.
Really
Yeah.
It really was very positive. It was a little nerve wracking having to, you know, sit at their low table with them there and things, but, and not having Hannah there, but, I think everybody, you know, did so great. The kids were awesome.
Those were great. Good job.
They, you know, and one of the commissioners, you know, was complimenting them and saying, oh, all the hard work that you put into getting ready for this and all the hard work you did. They wrote it the night before.
Suburban.
The person who, what's her name, that was doing the slideshow?
Missy Brown.
Missy. So, and she's not a commissioner. What's her position?
She works for Charter School Division
Okay.
and she directly interfaces with governing council a
Okay.
lot. She does trainings for
Okay.
governing council,
Yeah.
but she's just super
She's
helpful. I call
so
her all the
amazing.
time. She's
So
great.
she came down to talk with me and she goes, I love that you had actual note cards because it helped me know when to click
Mm.
the
Oh,
PowerPoint
that's so
ahead.
cool.
And then she said, and, you know, and she goes, you know, and it was, your students were so awesome. And I love that you were all down at the table, you know, and you included the students in that. And I said, yeah, and I need to be honest with you. They did that the night before. And why I'm being honest about that is because I think that speaks so highly. They did not need time to think about what makes their school great. They did not, we gave them a list of things they needed to talk about. They knew what they needed to talk about. And we could have we chose those 5, we could have chosen
Sure.
another set of 5 or another
Absolutely.
set of 5, or even 5 middle schoolers.
Mhm.
And it was really awesome. And then she said, and that you were all there crowded, around the table, just felt like that support behind the school, behind Hannah, who
That's
couldn't
so
be
sweet.
there. And just that, that was just really nice. And the commissioners didn't have as many moments where they just needed to hear themselves talk. As
We are live
Just
streamed.
yeah, and so, I mean, they really had valuable things to say.
Yeah.
The interaction I had with the commissioner about math, I thought was really good. He was really interested in the fact that we had different data than just the state test snapshot. And he was really appreciative that we were really looking to show growth. And so what are you doing that's helping with that? And really listened to that explanation. Afterwards, so Deandra came as our special ed person to answer questions. And afterwards I said, Deandra, thank you so much for being here. And it is really awesome that you did not have to answer any questions. And I said, I know it may feel like I went all the way up there and didn't have to say anything, but that means all of their previous concerns were already answered and taken care of. So that too was really, really. And just to prove that we are going to be ready in another 5 years. These are some things that middle schoolers have to say. I'll just read a few highlights and then I'll leave them. And Hannah, if you could send them back.
Back to Jennifer.
Yeah.
You bet.
So this is from health. In Aldo Leopold 7th grade health, we learn everything, even if it's uncomfortable at first. There was a lot to take in, but Jennifer makes it easy to understand. We've been learning about the skeletal system, 8 dimensions of health, left and right sides of the brain, and she can this is just a few highlights on ELA and social studies. Reading House on Mango Street. At La Plata, when I read House on Mango Street, my teacher did not teach us anything about the lessons in House on Mango Street. So they probably did other things, but not the lessons you learned. This year, when we read it, we learned all about racism and sexism, coming of age, and more. I am so grateful to have read it this year. And then she talks about the fact that they've worked on social commentary, women's role in society, but then they also did these oral history presentations. I'm so grateful we got to do interviews with our elders. They had to be 65 or older. Only 2 of them asked me if I was old enough. So I guess that's okay. Because I have a new perspective on our elders now. I used to think they were all basic and had basic values and challenges, but I was pleasantly surprised by the uniqueness of all the different interviews.
The elders report say.
Basic old person.
The generic, what would a sitcom do with an old person?
Right.
And then one of our students who really has some challenges
Lots of
staying
struggles. Yeah.
in the general classroom was really glad that they decoded the different school missions. He just said, we did some missions, some missions, and then different types of sentences, and he likes that they've been reading the book, The Boys Who Challenged Hitler, because I like history and wars. And then in social studies this year, like, everybody thought was important, so we don't
Yeah.
repeat, so we don't. In social studies this year, so then he says, my favorite thing was the presidential race, because I like that stuff, because I need to learn it as soon as I can, and we got to do some president games. And then Friday learning, just a little bit of that. Aldo is perfect for me and would be perfect and would be for everyone. I know, for everyone I know. Sorry, I'm not reading their punctuation properly. It is calming to be outside and have a break from being cooped up inside all the time. Also, some kids don't get the opportunity to hike, but they can get that here at Aldo. Fridays are amazing.
Nice.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
thank you.
all's good.
Any questions for Fiona? Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We gotta run to Walmart because we have a gift exchange, 2 gift exchanges.
2 gift
Right.
exchanges. Oh, goodness.
I've got my teacher gift, just not my student gift.
Good luck.
Thank you. Or you can look at them if you wanna. If you need to entertain yourselves. Need a couple more. Hey, babes.
All right, we're
Happy
on to,
holidays,
Thanks
Fiona.
all.
See ya.
yep,
Bye, Fiona.
Bye.
Thank you.
on to number 9, item 9, strategic plan, goal manager reviews. I know that Anthony's with us. Hannah, are we starting with Anthony?
I think so. Anthony, are you starting? I can if you want.
Yes, that works terrific. So we have 2 items to report on tonight. Mine is goal 2, which is improve financial systems and practices to sustain budget outcomes that support the growth of each student. And the
Can we use
specific,
I printed, didn't we print them for you? Oh, I can try. Yeah.
the objective is continue. It's objective B under that, which is continue internal program budgets and improve pre-trip planning process to include trip budget.
That just made it tinier.
And
It's getting
the
smaller and smaller.
Yeah, let me try something else. Just a second. Sorry, Anthony, one sec.
That's okay.
Well, that's better.
Oh,
It's-
now it's just regular. Let me just put it on slideshow. There we go.
There you go.
Nice. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, no problem. So you can, looking left to right, you can skim over the goal and objective. And the task within this is task 1, which is collaborate with trip coordinators to implement a pre-trip budget plan form. So I had a phone conference with Maya and finished a first draft for a pre-trip budget plan form. And so right now, Maya's going to review that, and then if Hannah wants to review that, she could do that as well. So task complete.
Jackie, are you involved in that as well?
I don't think so. No, right, Hannah?
No, so Jackie has been working on a pre-trip form for staff, like if they're going to the renewal or professional development. This is specifically for the trips that we run through the school, so separate. How many kids? What are the costs? Where are you going? I spoke with Maya too, and what Anthony has, she really liked. It dovetails with something she'd already created. So the draft that Anthony supplied will work on sort of combining into what Maya has. All of it is because we don't have a set budget for trips. Like, hey, you can spend this much, or this is what you get for 9th grade this year, or whatever. And also to track how much we are spending. So Maya had already implemented sort of like, okay, here are these things. And today we talked about, okay, she has the campground and the food and the museum costs, but not gas, wear and tear on vehicles, substitutes, and subs are a huge cost during trips. So we're working on all of that so that we can get a feeling for how much we're spending and also how much we're getting back. Having a way to track that. I mean, Kathy gets the money, she writes the receipts, but we're not tracking it as well as we could. But thank you for your work on that, Anthony.
Yeah, well stated.
And Maya really appreciates that you're a good listener and you don't talk over her.
Well, it helped tremendously to have her input because many things would have been left out without it. So it was great to have her input before I pushed in the structure for that form.
Awesome, thank you. So the next goal, which is facility operations and risk management practices to improve student health, safety, and learning. The task is to meet with YCC coordinators, experiential ed coordinators, secretary 3 and/or others to review and revise responsibilities and address responsibility for fleet maintenance and repair. And so I did parts of this. What I did do is meet with Pat and go over everything that he has accomplished in the last couple of months. And the fleet had been largely ignored last year, to say the very least. It was outside my bandwidth, and Wayne helped a little, but we didn't have a regular maintenance schedule. We have a mechanic who's helping us out now. And so Pat, this is for whoever, if you didn't get one of these yet, it lists all of the vehicle maintenance, bus maintenance, and everything that's been completed. We had our bus inspection last week. You got one, everyone else is good. And past that, which the year before we did not. There was a lot of fixes
Oh,
that we
wow.
needed to do before we could drive two of the buses. So Pat is still in process, but we are implementing that schedule. First, we had to catch up from last year,
Mhm.
and then we're going to implement a schedule. So questions about that, I'm happy to take.
I just saw this, so I didn't read through it. So you're gonna put the bus maintenance on a schedule? That's what you're doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I mean, another example would be that maybe none of the vehicles had an oil change last year. Now we have an oil change
Okay.
schedule. Because they've all had it and now they're on the schedule that they're on.
Nice.
Yeah, so those things. Any other questions on that? Thank you, Anthony. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't.
Okay, we're gonna see you in March, right?
Yes, and the governing council will have, it'd be a process very similar to last year, and the governing council will have a work session to provide input to the next iteration of the plan.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Anthony.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Anthony.
having me.
Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Holidays.
Bye-bye.
And what's the date of that planning session? Planning ahead, do you know yet in March?
Anthony, do we know the date of the planning session for GC? Have you said that?
Yes, it is. It is prior to the regularly scheduled governing council meeting. I believe the second Thursday of March, and so I will be there. I will be present the entire week, so I can meet with the goal managers and others to provide input under Hannah's direction.
When is spring break?
Mm,
I can pull up a calendar.
yeah.
It sounds very.
Spring break is the third week of March.
Right.
17 through 21.
Yeah, exactly. And so Anthony will be here the week before spring break. We have our governing council meeting. Yeah, the
Okay.
Thursday before break, but we can look at all those dates. So our GC meeting will be the 13th. Anthony will be here the week of the 10th through 13th, 14th. I have what on the 20th?
The meeting, the governing.
Why would that be? Yeah, I don't know why that's there.
Because
I'll
last
fix it.
year,
Maybe
spring
it
break
just,
was the second.
yeah, that must be what it
Hmm.
is. I'll
Yeah.
fix it right
Yeah,
now.
thanks.
And it must have just carried over.
Yeah. You see, it says on the third Thursday. That is the weirdest.
Hmm.
Okay,
That I
let me
can't.
fix it. I'm glad you saw that. Thank you, Alex.
Solar has 2 weeks for spring break.
Really?
They do. I don't know how they manage that. I really don't. They don't
Why?
have
It's
enough
magic.
days. You can ask Fiona. We've both looked at it. All right. Any other questions for Anthony? Righty then. Harry, are you gonna tell me to move on to the director's report?
I'm gonna ask you first if you have anything else for strategic plan.
I do not have
Okay.
anything else.
In that case, we're ready for item 10,
Excellent.
director's report.
Sounds good. So, congratulations to everyone on the renewal. You know, thank you to Jim and Harry for being up there. Fiona's gone now. And it was hard to put in all that work and not be there. That was a little rough, but the kids did such a great job and I was so proud of them. And during governing council input, I'd love to hear how the conference at Tamaya was. And yeah, I'm curious how that went.
I think I didn't have that in the agenda.
Well, oh, do you? I didn't notice.
Including Tamaya training.
Oh, okay, cool. So now that the renewal is done, now comes the next step, which is contract and negotiations. There was a training on that on December 4th, which was the day that I was in the emergency room. So Missy sent me the materials, but she and I are meeting Friday to talk about what the process looks like, what the timeline looks like. Harry, I don't know if you saw, but they want you and I there in person, March 11th through 14th, which is the week that Anthony is here. So I'm waiting to talk to Missy because there's different timelines for different people. I don't know if they really need us there 3 days, and why it needs to be in person is beyond me. So I'm going to try to get some clarity on all of that, and I'll share with you whatever I learn. But the new charter contract, most of it will be very similar to this last contract. There is not huge changes, but there are going to be changes to our mission-specific goal data rubric. The rubric last time was on a 9-point scale. And was really hard to convert to the way that people really think about grading. And so Fiona and Maya have primarily been working on revamping it, and they have a draft, and we're talking about it tomorrow during our leadership meeting. I meet with, Jackie, Fiona, Maya, and Allie every Wednesday for leadership, and we go through those things. So we'll be talking about that rubric then. Questions on contract negotiations? Okay. So obviously, you all read my email, and I am not going to pursue renewing my contract at the end of June. And that was a super hard decision for me. And I did not make it lightly. I was so sick, and those near-death experiences help you crystallize what is important. And my health is important to me, and this job is huge. And I think that I think looking at ways to restructure it are important, but with that terrible news about the budget, we also know we can't hire another person. You can't create another position. So that is challenging. My goal would be to advertise for the position starting in January. I know that there are staff interested in being on the hiring committee. It is not up to me. You all will need to talk about this. My personal opinion is hiring a service isn't worth it. That's my personal opinion. But you all can talk about that. And there are staff who are willing to do a hiring committee again. I think Jim and I served on it a few years ago. I still have PTSD. It's a lot of work. It's a huge amount of work. And that's why we went with the service, I think. So all of these are conversations to be had.
Because we did advertise, nobody replied.
Yeah.
There was very few.
Yeah.
Nobody, and I know now Anthony is working with John Bass. He joined Haya.
Yeah.
So he could help if we decide.
I think that's a good point. And I think the last time we were also off on timelines. I think the time that you advertise for a director is in January. I think that's when people start looking. Director, principal, any school admin position. And so we were off on the timeline there, and I think that hurt us. Yeah, I don't know, but I would love to have someone hired by May. Obviously, my contract goes through June. Ideally, me working with whoever it is all of June, getting them into all 17 portals for the state that I have to access, and all of those things, as well as whatever background I can give them would be super valuable. Also, if there is some way to reconfigure or reimagine the job, I'm not opposed to looking at ways to stay here in some other capacity with a much lightened load. I will also say that my daughter, and I told Harry this already. So one of the weird things about sepsis is there's not just physical, there's physical impacts, but there's like emotional impacts. And I'm super weepy now. So I get really cryy all the time. But my daughter has been sick all the time this quarter because I've been sick. So she like internalizes all my stress, and she's really struggling. And so it's really important to me that I be there for her last year of high school, which is next year. So all of that said, any questions or comments?
My comment. Good job on a brave and important decision.
Thanks. Yeah, and not an easy.
We're sorry to lose you, and I'm glad you're giving us time to.
That's why I want,
this.
thank
I
you.
really appreciate that.
You know, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, no, I just need to make the decisions so that we can facilitate as smooth a transition. You know, I support the school wholeheartedly, and I don't want to do anything, yeah, that would endanger all the work I've done too. I feel like I've done a lot of good work, and I don't want that to all be lost either. So thank you. Oh, but we'll hope that 6 months is enough time. All right, so with that, the messaging around my position, I think it's time that I send a message out to parents, because we live in a small community where Jackie was told by the postmaster of Baird, who he thinks her new boss will be. So it's a small town, and people obviously have already heard about this. And so I have worked on a draft. I wondered if anyone cares. Do you want to see it first before I send it out, or should I just send it to parents? Your call.
Should probably see it.
I would like to look at it.
Yeah, we
Okay.
should see it.
All right, then I have it mostly done. So I'll send it tomorrow because I'd like to have it out before break,
Because, yeah,
obviously.
we're responsible for what we put out there.
Well, I think I'm responsible for
Well,
what
you
you.
are, but ultimately, yeah, but that's our job, right? No.
I don't know. Offered
She's-
Alex
Yeah,
because I
but-
care that
Yeah.
everyone's good and that we're all on the same
Yeah.
page
I
and
just-
that the
I
messaging,
just don't want you to wait for our feedback.
right. If I
So
don't
have-
get any,
Send it on that.
thank you. You're right. I will try to send it tomorrow. If I don't get any feedback, know that I'm sending it out to parents by Friday.
That's perfect.
That's
Okay,
fair.
fine.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I
Okay.
agree with that. Facilities update. So, one, Jackie, can you just real quick, do you mind telling them about where we're at with our facilities? You know, the contractors we got.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
We actually got correspondence from John Valdez, and he sent out the contract to the contractor that we had
Chosen.
decided to.
Paul,
Yeah,
So hang on a second. John Valdez is with the PSFA.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Right.
you. for the question.
yeah.
Thanks.
So he had sent out the contract. So they were going to look it over and then sign it and then send it over to us. But just because it's such a busy time during the year, I asked them if they could maybe wait for us until the beginning of January when we get back on the 6th. That week will be when we return our contract. We just need to look it over and make sure that we like everything that they're proposing to do.
What's the contract for? I'm sorry.
This is for our facilities plan. This is for this school, yeah, we're required to do a facilities plan every 5 years. This is the one that we receive some state money to help pay for, but we have to pay for it no matter, you know, the other part of it. I chose, and you guys have supported, I always forget their name because it's so generic, but
Consolidated schools.
Services.
services.
Yeah, right.
And they will help us navigate all of the things that we need to navigate in procuring a new site. I already talked to Paul about where we are and what this all looks like, and he said he'd love to meet with Mr. Hawkins and help explain like steps that we need. So he will work as a liaison as well as writing the plan, but it'll be a really useful guiding document in all of our next steps for facility committee. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, point of information. Is there anything to be gained by actually getting this contract signed so that we're hitting the ground running rather than spending the first 2 weeks of winter semester or spring semester, you know, waiting? I mean, I know it's the holidays. I know people are busy. I know we're winding things down, but if it's just a matter of signing a contract and getting things
Sure.
going sooner, I'm feeling not the panic, but the urgency of the
Urgency.
moment. I don't know.
I agree that it's urgent. I think signing this week or the first week of January
It
makes no
doesn't-
difference. He's
okay.
ready to start, and he and I have spoken, and he's ready to begin.
Okay.
So,
That's-
yeah,
It's fine.
To ease your concern, he did in an email say, we were not planning on starting until January.
Okay.
So we
Thank you,
might be
Terry.
losing a week or two.
No worries.
Thank you, Jackie. And also Alex and I both attended the Silver Facilities meeting. And do you want to talk about it or?
He's on the agenda to talk.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
I'll let you just talk about that then. Sorry,
No worries.
yeah. Yesterday, Senator-elect Ramos came to visit because I invited him. I got to share with him what we do here, and that we will be in Santa Fe for Grant County Day. He invited us to bring students over, very gracious. And so I appreciated him listening to what we did. He had never seen the school. He didn't know about YCC. There was a lot he learned and said, sounds like you're doing great work. And he asked a few questions that showed he did a little homework. So I appreciated that too. What do you attribute your high science scores to? So that was a good question. It came down today, which is too bad. There was an amazing art show in here in the common room from middle and high school. We didn't do it at Javelina this year because it was, Allison had issues, like it just didn't work out, and it was great. It was so beautiful, and I thought it would be up for tonight, and then they came and took it all down today. On Saturday, there was a music presentation from Doug's classes with middle and high school. It was held at the Presbyterian Church, the Hearth. Did anybody get to attend? No, it was awesome. They did such a great job. It was insanely well attended, standing room only at the back. And it's the whole, like, it's this huge venue. And so that was really great. And the kids did great. So all those projects at the end of the year, I love seeing that culmination of what everyone's been working on this whole time. It's pretty gratifying. Any questions?
Sounds like it was the kind of success that is going to be repeated. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to put the concert on next year.
Yeah, and he did at the end of last semester at the Zocalo last time. But this time, that didn't work with scheduling. So he ended up at the Hearth, and that was great.
He filled a sanctuary
Yeah,
in a church.
he filled it. I bet it's the first time that church has been filled. That long time. But that's why, and one of our former teachers, Emily Aversa, is working on using that space to open it up to the community more. That's why they've changed the name to the Hearth. So they're trying to do a lot more community engagement and activities there, and it worked out really great.
So, Hannah, I probably just missed a notice, but I don't think I knew anything about Doug's concert. Did that come to us somewhere?
Good question.
Okay.
It went out on Facebook, not Facebook, it went out on Parent Square.
Yeah.
You don't get. It was on Instagram, and the parent who used to run our Facebook came to talk to me 2 days ago to say, hey, your girls only post stuff on Instagram.
Right?
People aren't seeing it. So
all the time.
she wants us to hire her back as social media.
Why can't, we talked about this, can't they?
They can just double
Click an
post.
option
Yes,
and
yes.
have it automatically
can.
post to Facebook?
Yes, they absolutely can. I showed them this,
Yeah.
but they're teenagers, and they haven't done it. So I will touch base with them again. We could also ask the parent to help again.
And this is too small for us to really meddle, but I'd be cautious about hiring anybody for anything at this point.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree with that. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, then I am done with my director's report.
Thanks.
Sure thing.
So there were at least a couple things I missed this month. One was not calling all the committees. So I only have listed the two committees I know about.
Well, there was risk management today.
Okay, do we want to hear about that?
Um,
And hang on, before you start in, any other committees, just so I know the whole range of things. I don't believe policy has to say anything.
Curriculum hasn't met for 2 months ago.
And I apologize that I did not do that this month.
And it looks like Alex is down to talk about facilities,
Yeah.
so I can update you. I can add to whatever he doesn't mention, so.
well, I'm gonna talk about the Silver School facility meeting.
Okay, I'll talk
wasn't-
about the committee, but
I haven't been on, I'm not on this committee. I'm
So you
just
want
on
to
this,
start with risk management and then
Yeah, that's fine.
the silver facilities?
Yeah, they met today. I thought I brought the agenda with me.
I have it in my office. Do you want me to grab it, Alex?
That is the thing that I don't need to see theirs. I mean, I might want to later. I'm saying,
Well, here it is.
you
Here's
asked
the
about
risk
the plan
management.
that John Bubby's wrote about that Paul's gonna prepare. It's the equivalent of that
Okay,
document.
I found it,
Oh.
of course, sorry. Okay. They talked about few injuries that's been happening in primitive skills, just kids getting burnt, cut, how to avoid that.
No eyes have been poked out.
None.
I guess a kid got 7 stitches last year.
Last year,
last
and that
year,
was
so-
when I had the lawyers write a liability form.
So they went over that and it's fine. Even with the injuries, it's a lot safer than being a cheerleader in another school.
Sure.
So, yeah. The injuries are
Cheerleading's
way
crazy.
fewer than.
It is, it
Yeah.
is the most
Yes.
dangerous.
Yeah.
And Alex's daughter is a cheerleader, so it's no joke. It's-
Beyond American football. It's-
Yeah,
Yes,
worse than
yes.
American, because they're paralyzed regularly, like kids, yeah, like.
Oh,
What
yes,
we
true.
do is pales in comparison to a sports program. So we're okay, even though there are injuries, they're nothing compared to others.
And we talked about some more protective gear that Orion
Yeah.
is going to
Mm.
look to buy. We could ask the foundation for money for that is what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
there's should be plenty of money for this stuff. There's a couple of, a safe school plan that they're putting together. It's not updated yet.
It was,
Oh,
it
it's-
was
it's not-
turned into the state December 1st, which is when it was due. It is a draft. The state will look at it and tell us to do more stuff. So we're not done yet, but a huge chunk of it's done. And Pete did such great work on that. It is a huge job, as Jim knows. It is a massive undertaking. So it's great to have it done.
There's gonna be a day trip to Palomas. And they're gonna try to get the bus across and back just to see what's involved with doing that.
Just
for
curious,
kids.
what's the purpose of the trip? It sounds great, but what?
Spanish class.
Oh,
Class
like,
to
yeah,
meet with
yeah.
the
Like,
Is
students
Avery,
And,
Mhm, Avery.
Gotcha.
yes, the kids there in Palomas and just a day in Mexico.
They're gonna practice the whole title.
It's- Yeah,
Title at
it's
the
a
border
whole,
visits.
yes, it's a practice run. They were gonna do overnight, but it's February and camping at Pancho Villa State Park is gonna be really cold, so they're gonna leave early morning tonight afternoon. We talked about there was some vandalism allegations by WNMU saying our kids cut a bunch of nets in the gym. But it was during the powwow, so, and nobody, I mean,
There was no follow-up. They like
Nobody
accused
came
us
back
and then I
and-
said,
yeah.
please let us know what we can do. This is horrible. And no one ever said anything.
but they
so.
blamed all the kids immediately without proof.
Good.
And there was a security vulnerability assessment here that was on the 3rd where a random person was gonna try to get into the building.
yeah, yeah.
And he was able to get to a back door in the back while
Rita was.
Rita was
cleaning.
cleaning. It was open, but they stopped him as what he was doing. So it went well, and that's about it.
I agree.
It does remind me of the time that the custodians were downstairs and a random guy walked out of that room that has the refrigerator
Uh-huh.
down there. There's a crawl space and he had been living in the crawl space. No way.
This
You
story,
never heard this story?
so creepy.
Pre-Aldo or during
Oh,
Aldo?
no, during all that. And not even the first year, because I was already here at this office when it happened.
Was this
So it was at least the second year.
And did he just like wander out or did they
Yes.
say, hey,
And
who are
it turned
you?
out either Dan or Adam, I think Dan knew
Like,
him.
of course he did.
And immediately we put bars, because he was getting in through there are some spaces outside for ventilation. He was getting in that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was freaky.
That is freaky. That's pretty creepy.
I left that out of the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Still on the live.
Long
Yeah,
ago.
like, and recording.
All right. Jim, you wanna, oh no, you're moving on to the Silver Consolidated Facilities meeting.
Yeah, it was, I have the pamphlet here. It's a lot of numbers and stats about why
You should, yeah, and Jim.
they're
should-
consolidating. It's 40% dropping student population over the past 10 years.
Mhm.
40%.
40%. Second Street
Yeah.
only has only kindergarten. JV has like first through second,
No, they have everyone.
I thought they
Their
first-
numbers have just gone down.
but it's in like 40% or something.
Wow.
I don't remember if the elementaries went back to 1 through 5 or they went through 6.
They are 1 through 6.
Okay.
Anyway, all their schools are less than 50% capacity, and they talked about why. A lot of numbers. It's the first meeting, he introduced us saying Aldo's here, you might want to know why they're here, because they're interested in one of the buildings.
Good for him.
But he also said WNMU was also interested in the buildings, which was not good news.
Oh,
I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, I would too. I don't know what it would be for.
So it would really suck if he kicked us out of here and bought the building. So he can't do that.
Yeah,
So we need to find out.
Yeah.
That's all he said about it.
and he said the next meeting, it will be in January. He said it would be, right?
didn't
But I
give a
don't
date
think
on
the
it.
date's been set yet. The other thing that happened during that meeting was I was sitting with Priscilla Lucero and she said directly, she's like, Mr. Hawkins, Hannah needs a commitment from you. And he didn't directly address that. He handled it very gracefully. But he understands that there is pressure to have some sort of agreement sooner than later.
These plans often project school membership.
Yeah, they
Into the
project
future?
and they're continued decline. And
So there's a table in this document
Yeah.
I can look at?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
is there a spare copy that?
We
get
could
hold of-
make
I
some
suspect it's
copies.
online.
It is all online.
Okay.
Someone's pretty good about that.
Okay.
Yeah, let me show you where to find it. If I can find it.
But it was, he had representatives from all the schools. Like I think Deming was there, Lordsburg, like there was a lot of people there.
Interesting.
And some parents, and it was very preliminary. It was just, these are the numbers, these are the schools. We haven't done a plan yet. That's all it was.
Just going back to WNMU expressing interest, like what,
It's all he
What
said
did that
was
look
one
like?
sentence.
who said that?
Hawkins.
Oh, he said
Yeah,
it. There
yeah,
wasn't a
yeah.
representative there
No,
to,
Hawkins said it.
okay.
He said, I don't know if he said it after he introduced us and we were interested,
And
but he
did
did mention it during the meeting.
he didn't say which building they're interested
I
in.
think he said both. He said in
I
the
didn't hear
buildings.
that. I don't know. I did not hear that.
He said in the buildings is what I heard.
This is their old. Jim and we can also just make copies.
But whatever's easiest, I want to let my facilities colleagues.
Yeah, for
read
sure.
through
Well,
it
you
if
can
it seems-
have it for the meeting if you want to
Okay,
take it. Yeah,
okay,
just
I'll
tell
look
us
it
if-
over when you guys are done, and
Yeah,
then if
yeah.
it needs to be, some of it needs to be copied, I can.
I'm not
yeah.
reading it daily, like I've read it.
Okay,
You don't need it to fall asleep. at.
Yeah, well, it would help, but. That was it. It was very
Okay.
like,
yeah.
It
thanks
was
for-
very introductory.
yeah,
Yeah.
very introductory. That was
Just
the
get that one.
one.
Yeah.
tip
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
We need to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With the damage.
Yeah.
He has estimates for the repairs, like there's a lot of numbers in there.
Jim, you want to talk about the committee?
Sure. Briefly, the committee met for the first time in
Which.
late November. I'm sorry, Facilities Committee, and your step-by-step recommendation is a good segue because the committee, only two people on the committee were able to make the date because we sort of hurriedly put it together, but Bridget, Johns and Garrett attended, and we were so gung-ho that we said, we're gonna have 2 meetings in January. But after
Wow.
talking to Harry and talking to Hannah, the step-by-step makes more sense. So we're gonna have some data by then. We're all fired up and we wanted to tour the building over Christmas break. And after talking to these two, they said, we got to be careful because there are lots of stakeholders. Mr. Hawkins has to not seem like this is a fait accompli. So I told those two people, I think we only need 1 meeting in January. So our next meeting will be January 23rd, and we'll, like I say, we'll have some more data and can push.
And hopefully, our new facilities plan managers can join us for
That
that
would be
and
great.
lead us through sort of what this will all look like, or shortened version of it.
And they need lots of repairs, but anything we need to do is gonna be way cheaper than starting from scratch.
Absolutely. No building anything right now is so expensive.
It's our own.
It's $4.5 million versus 45.
Yeah. Even if we took the free $1 a year lease from Shepherd, it would still we would build something and then it wouldn't be ours at the end of the term, so.
You said 4.5,
That's what the figure in there is too.
just to refurbish.
For
Say
everything,
barrios.
yeah, but the roof is like $1 million and they're using it, so you can go in and have, I don't know how that would work.
It's all gonna be complicated, and that's why we need Paul Aguilar to
Yes,
walk us through
right,
it all,
yeah,
because it is, yeah, the
Well, he said there's a minimum,
number.
there's a number for the condition of the facility. This facility's number is way worse than Jose Barrios.
But it doesn't
And
matter.
when-
To move into
But
a
they let us move
facility,
in, yes.
it
Well,
has to be at a certain place. And,
right,
and
this is
J,
worse than that.
yeah, but it doesn't matter because we can't move into JB with the number that it has right now.
Oh, we can't?
No, but
How do we get in this one? If it was worse.
can you tell us that? I don't know the answer to
I
that.
want to say a few things. One is, you all are operating in a framework of rational thinking instead of a bureaucratic process. Come on.
Right.
If you want a story exactly about that, look at the hospital labor and delivery.
Mm,
For decades, they had very subpar rooms for delivery. The state would not let them improve unless they could improve to perfection. And they couldn't. The building could not house what the state requirements had come to. For years,
Yes.
whenever
So,
Patty White was there, for over a decade,
that's
the state
crazy.
would not allow it to improve because it couldn't get to perfection. It was the most amazing example of bureaucracy you can imagine. So
That's crazy. I never knew.
at the PEC meeting, they reinforced the idea that moving in requires a different standard than just continuing.
Right.
And so that has been acknowledged. How we got in here, I don't recall what the weighted New Mexico Composite Index was for
I think it's
this
because
facility.
to lease a place is a different number than to own or buy, but I could be wrong on
I
that.
don't think so.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't think that's right.
All right.
And since I've started talking, I just want to encourage us not to draw any conclusions on our own. We do need fall. This
Oh, yeah,
idea that we
sure.
can't possibly build our own facility, I don't agree with.
We'll see. Who knows?
Let's see.
I'm open.
Let's see.
And
I think
Paul is
build a facility
so
for
knowledgeable.
4.5 million.
4.5.
I think we could build it for less, actually, but it all depends on how you do it and what waivers you can get. And I think we can get a ton of waivers compared to what they put in to the original estimate of however many tens of millions. They
Yeah,
put.
but when you add public school to any structure, it multiplies the cost by 10. Because of all the standards they put on you, like it's
Some of which you,
You
like
can get
yeah,
waivers.
4 million, you can build a big building. but
And
not-
I think, again, that's where we need, excuse me, an expert. Yeah.
no, we need an expert.
Yeah,
No,
and we've hired. I-
So I'm not saying I think that's the best path at all. I'm just saying, let's not close off any. option.
I'm open to hearing everything he has to tell us and look, putting everything on the table for him. And yeah, having him visit and look at everything that's been done in the past, all of it, I think it's a big, complicated thing.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I'm happy to be involved where it's appropriate for
Yeah.
somebody on the committee to be there. I don't need to be in the middle of things.
No, but I also
When it's
think
useful,
part of, that transition planning for me leaving is continuity and making sure that there is someone that everything that's getting handed over has that continuity. So that could be you for facilities.
All right, thanks, Jim. I put my name next to finance and not long after preparing this agenda with my name there, I completely botched it and had left cell service, in fact. I was not even in cell service when Alex tried to reach me to tell me I was missing the finance committee meeting. So I messed up. Do you want to tell us anything about that meeting?
It's basically everything she talked about. Tonight's is worse though. I didn't realize we're gonna end up with just the 50.
Me either,
Like that
No,
wasn't covered.
because
in the
I didn't go to
finance
finance and
but she didn't
Justine
mention
might
that, though.
talk. She hasn't said a word about that. And I'm always like, do we have the money for this? Where are we with this? And she's like, you're fine. But maybe we have different definitions of fine.
That was.
And
she might be
so
finishing above
I will
zero.
say I'm still stunned.
yeah, that was a,
Well,
That's
Let me add, one of the things that Justine did point out, and I don't think she said it at tonight's meeting, is that there's still a lot of POs that are open that we have not used. So we need to close those. And when those close, a lot of those funds will just come back. Like they'll be
So we
back in the budget.
encumbered money that we may not actually.
Yes.
spend. And
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Yeah. And she didn't mention that tonight, but she did
It's
mention that to
still
me.
not $300,000, which is
Yeah, right.
the basic number. I'm thinking, where did that go?
Right.
Well, I asked her in
Yeah.
the meeting, like, is this sustainable? Can we keep going? And she goes, yeah, I see no problem with the budget.
Really?
Yeah, like I was like, how are we losing 100,000 a month? And it'd be sustainable. Oh, it's because we're waiting for the lease and the bars and the RFRs, and she made it sound fine.
Well, maybe it was your
Okay.
question that prompted her to think
Well,
harder
I'm not
about it.
as, like,
No.
you've done this,
No,
so.
but you might have made her think harder about it. That
Okay.
might have been a great question.
Okay, well,
Is this
she's made it
sustainable?
sound like it was fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, I will meet with her soon, and I will share whatever we see there. And I will say last year, I was not part of the budget process. Melissa built the budget. I didn't even know. I am really looking forward to this year, Jackie and Justine and I building that budget and really digging into that. So we will involve the finance committee, of course,
Yeah.
and stakeholders, just, you know,
Well-
the whole budget process, which was not followed
Well,
last
last year it was all about how are we gonna spend this $1 million? So it was a very different problem.
That's scary to hear.
Yeah, it's a very different problem.
Okay. Thanks, Alex.
I mean, I guess it's still very concerning.
Oh, it's
to
concerning.
To not fully understand.
It definitely is those three positions. There's a chunk, right? There is $250,000. And I knew that would happen. But I also, yeah, the rest, that's why.
Well, that's exactly what I thought we were saying. We are
Yeah.
gonna be $250,000
Right,
out of cash carry,
right,
not 500.
not
Well,
500.
but when she closes out a lot of those, so.
But again,
maybe
yeah,
it might get
Those,
closer.
the little things and the big things,
I think
aren't-
we'll get close.
we'll see what we find.
I don't know how you're gonna finish that sentence. I was kidding. The little things and the big things are.
But all of those little things just don't add up to the massive number
Agreed.
that we're looking at right now. And so in just, you know, not like I sit around and I know every cent we've spent, but I keep a tallying, right, in my mind of where we are, what we have, and I was shocked. And so that is disturbing for sure.
So once the POs are rectified.
It'll still be the same.
so then
Maybe
there'll
we
still
can
be a
find,
question In my mind.
yeah, maybe 60,000.
So then there'll still be a question. I mean, I would like it answered.
Yeah, that's why I'm meeting with her.
That-
Yeah.
We all
I think she
want
heard
it
the question.
answered.
I think Justine heard the
I
question.
didn't think she heard it.
Really?
I think she did. I do.
Because she kept repeating the PO part. To me.
Well,
We'll
that doesn't mean
see.
she didn't hear the question. That means she has hope where we don't. And if she finds
Fair
out
enough.
there's nothing there,
Fair
she still has the question.
Okay, so then she needs to be.
Well, really,
She may lose her hope.
She may lose her.
Well, but Hannah needs to be there to
Yeah, well,
check
I
her
will,
hope.
yes, I will. Don't worry. There's one thing I can do, it's dampen hope.
All right. Move on to old business, and the only item in here is the director's evaluation. It strikes me that it's very old at this point, but I'm open
Years
to
old.
conversation.
We sent it out. We had 7 responses
From teachers, from staff.
from staff. We sent it out again 2 days ago. And had 12 responses. So, and I gave the deadline again of December 31st because there doesn't seem to be a lot of discrepancy in what people are saying.
I think overall it's gonna be very positive.
So I question the purpose of it at this point.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
What do
now
we
it seems
like?
moot.
Well,
Or do you want? the
yeah,
feedback?
I think that as I look for a new job, having an evaluation is something some people pass on.
Are you,
Yeah,
I'm not sure this is an appropriate
administration.
question, but are you satisfied with what's turned in, I mean, how much do we want to push other people to, you know, staff?
Wait for the end of the, you said till the
Right, and
31st.
just-
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
And GC that you guys have all, well, except for Lauren, and I didn't send you one because you have little grounds for evaluating, and I
Yeah,
can
I
send
agree
that
with
to you for future reference, because that will be something.
Know what
we-
it looks like, yeah.
I'd be happy to do that, so I'll write a yellow note to myself.
Discuss about the director's evaluation.
Other than Jim and I probably have to get together and figure out.
Write a summary report, okay, yeah.
Our deadline also December 31st.
We just, our deadline was the January GC meeting.
Okay.
But again. Not the thing I want to do before that. We could, I would say that.
Yeah.
Given what the patterns, it seems like we're not gonna get a big dump.
I
How
think we
many
can-
staff do we have on?
There's 17 teachers. But there's like, it depends how you count staff, right?
Staff, that's what I'm asking.
Well, but this is
Individually.
what I'm trying to say, like, the people who just work on Fridays for YCC, are you counting them? We have 34 basically, but if you count all these ancillary people who are here a day or two, it's into the 40s.
34.
It'd be nice to get half.
Which,
Well, if you didn't know the answer to that question, maybe you didn't have a contact list to send it out to. that includes everybody.
Kathy's.
Got
I
it.
did not send it.
She has a contact list.
Kathy has a.
She's got it.
Okay.
I just,
All right.
yeah, I just was in my contacts hoping that everybody would show up.
Okay. New business. We received, proposed lottery dates for next school year.
Didn't somebody
Did we?
say
Did we
this?
not? Yes, we did.
We got, did Kathy send them to everyone?
I did not recall.
I
seeing
thought she did.
I didn't get it.
Apparently not.
So I will send
This
them
is the
to
second time
everyone.
it's happened.
The thing with the lottery dates is we do a lottery every month starting in January. Every year, all we do is change the one date to make sure it's a Friday. And she has done that for this coming year so that we can start running the lottery right away. Yeah. And so I can send them to you, but I can guarantee you they look just like this year's and the year before and the year
I can
before. and the year
read.
before. Okay, we could do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
The applications may be accepted beginning January 17. The first lottery is February 14, March 14, April 11, May 23rd, June 20, and July 18. That's the proposed.
And
Schedule.
so she's proposing these so you can approve them in January so that we can start accepting lottery applications in January.
Is the lottery a pure lottery, or do we allow some, what do you call it, like waiting for siblings?
The only waiting is for siblings.
Siblings,
So, and they are guaranteed. So
But they
if
have
you
to submit
have,
an application.
but they still have to submit an application. But if they submit it and they have a brother or sister who already goes here, they get put at the top.
So the fact that we have multiple lotteries has an interesting effect, which is that if a family forgets to submit for a sibling, or if a staff member forgets to
Mm.
submit for their child, and they don't do it until June, it could be they end up on a waiting list.
Yeah.
Even though in theory they should have a preference.
But if they don't.
But
put
if
it
we've
in,
already accepted others,
Oh, I
we
see.
don't boot them
no,
and replace them.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
that's
So-
true. That's worth
So that
pointing
needs
out.
to be emphasized to staff in.
And
parents.
current parents, for
Well,
sure.
it'll go on transfer. Right?
Yeah. And it's on the website and all of that, and, but I think that you're right, it's worth reminding people of that always.
I think it works in the school's favor to do it this way. There are some schools that only do one lottery a year.
Mm.
I would imagine we have a lot fewer spaces this time.
It filled up quickly last year, sixth grade already just interest will feel almost immediately. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Well,
So we have time to, do we need to even approve those dates? I mean, she sent them to us.
I think they have to be approved by the GC, so on the next agenda,
So
Harry. we need
January.
to do that. Yes,
oh, okay.
Harry, will
okay.
you share them with everyone, the dates, so they can see them before the next
They'll
meeting?
be in the
It'll be on
minutes.
the-
Oh, you put those dates on?
I got them all down.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm gonna send them anyway.
Okay.
There we go.
Everybody's got them twice now. Oh, and here's the second thing. Of the things I know I didn't do. The new travel and per diem policy. I just kind of lost it after the charter.
You
renewal.
did the renewal
I
and then you were
celebrated.
just done, just
Yeah.
over, and you were honored.
Yes.
I heard you were honored at the Harwood Foundation.
It was a very nice, lovely
You heard
tribute
that
to
from
Harry
Jim.
Brown.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
So are you gonna bring that to us next time, Harry?
By the way, it's not the Harwood Foundation.
Oh.
In case somebody thinks I've gotten some money, it's just the Harwood Art Center.
Okay.
It's something else that has gotten Harwood money. I did not get any Harwood.
Harry won his award and he kind of bagged for this.
Yeah, but Jackie can explain the new policies, no? Or do you want it to do it?
I want to propose an alternative. I believe
Okay,
the mileage amount is too high. And I would like to argue for a different approach to per diem and both food and lodging.
because it's new this year. I thought you were just gonna go over what it is this year. It's different from last year.
It is different than last year. I think Jackie's done an excellent job of finding what I would consider a standard travel and per diem policy for a school. I would like us to consider a different approach,
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
and I promise to send that out so that we can be at this meeting in February.
And the GC is tasked with
Yeah.
presenting that policy. It just hasn't happened
It
in a
hasn't
lot of
happened yet.
years. And that is part of the inconsistency
2020.
in our reimbursement over the last couple of years, which was an audit finding. And it's because GC hadn't proposed it and then accepted it, and then that's what it was.
Yeah.
So you want to propose it, and Jackie will be here to give her input on what she thinks of that too. And I'm sure we can come to a consensus.
Okay.
Right.
Also, Jim,
So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna segue that into the Tamaya training.
yeah, you want to start that up?
Yeah, one of the things I learned was there are 99 policies that we need to approve every year.
One for every bottle on the wall.
Most schools go through 10 every meeting, and this would be one of them. But there are 99, and if you want to get, I'll get the list from Kelly. She didn't have the list there, but she'll send it to us. But there are.
We probably are close to that with all the policy work we did.
Yeah, but we don't we barely touch policies during our meetings. We need to be going through a lot of them every month.
That's
Even
why
if
we have
it's-
a policy committee.
Yes, well, oh, okay.
And then they just present the GC with the
We have done
policy.
that.
We have.
No,
we
We
did a
haven't done
lot of work.
99, we haven't done close. to
Not
that.
even close.
No.
Not even
not
close,
Right,
but there are
like 15
99.
maybe.
Another thing that they said we should be doing is oath of office when we get new members. It's
Oath
not
of office?
required. Yeah, an oath of office, yeah, where you just.
Hmm.
I'm
It's
sure
not
it's a
required,
standard.
then why would we do it?
Put your
Is it-
She
hand up.
recommended we do it. She said we should. It was just something interesting she said, I just thought I'd bring to you. And that we should have an onboarding folder
Yes.
for new
Yeah.
members
Fine.
with a history of the school. Everything about it. Have you seen it?
We have had.
It's
Yeah,
like some
really.
handouts the first time. And
About the school and onboarding?
yeah,
folder?
the history of the school and the overview and the goals and mission.
We need to update it.
Process, I started with John Walker.
Mm.
And so it's
It's,
almost a viable thing already.
So many things get reinvented. We have had a binder.
It's not reinvented.
yeah,
It's
but
not?
No, I
Oh,
took
you didn't
those.
start it, you took them. Oh,
I
good.
took them and I'm trying and to be honest, for a couple of years now, I'm trying to get to it. But it's close.
she recommended making it a Google Doc and it be a living
Mm.
document that's always updated. Not just something that we did 10 years ago.
I can. Put it on.
That way,
Alex, if you share it with me, I could just make sure it goes into all the important documents, so things don't get lost.
Okay. I would say a lot of the stuff online, like a lot of the things you sent me when I was going through the application process and just stuff on the website was super informative. Like I didn't feel like I was coming in blind.
Right.
Good.
So I think just like a lot of this, the documents that Alex sent me, and
Yep,
made
you
sense
have
to
some
me.
background.
I felt informed.
Thanks for taking the time to look at that too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
sure. But it also like makes me feel. like- Yeah, oh, it's,
we just need to package it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Document on Google Docs and keep it updated. Another interesting thing new this year is we only needed 5 hours of training, 5 classes. And I asked everybody there, you sure we only need 5? 5, I did it all in one day.
That's after 10 your first year.
yeah, none of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hours
not
of
for
this
new ones.
conference count towards.
For you?
Yeah,
Now,
Not one.
None of them.
no,
What?
Was it valuable anyway?
Did you?
it was, I
Okay.
did, yeah,
well, she stayed at Tama, yeah.
It was
It
nice.
was
Yeah,
nice.
I enjoyed it a lot.
But it didn't count. That's weird.
So
Well,
William
they
is
said
willing
that
to
in
work
the
with you on
past.
that?
It's not counted.
Okay.
I'm sure he
Okay,
will.
awesome.
You haven't
I,
talked to
I
him.
don't know,
Okay.
He's told me
Much
he
yet.
is, but he
Not
hasn't,
him.
you haven't talked to him.
Right.
not,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're paying him.
We are. I'm meeting with Wayne on Monday, actually, to talk about that, the financing through DFA. It is now open, that financing is now available for money for the loans, the low interest loans for charters to fix up buildings.
MFA. NMFA.
It's NMFA,
NMFA,
NMFA.
not the
Did I
DFA.
say DFA? Okay, NMFA. So that just opened this week and I'm meeting with Wayne on Monday to talk about it. So I will tell Wayne to get in touch with you and get you some hours.
And because of you only need the 5 hours training, you can do it all in one day. It's not like it was in the past where you had to be there
That's
both
different.
days. You just stay there one night, get it all done. Which is, I didn't know.
Was this your first time going there?
Third.
Oh, third. So are the topics varied enough that going
It's
year after year?
completely different than last year.
Okay.
All different teachers, all different classes, completely, they changed everything. They put the buffets to mix in with the vendors, to try to get more people to interact with the vendors. And they changed it up a lot. The location was the only thing that didn't change.
Okay.
But it was a lot more, oh, and you scan a code to prove that you're in the class, you don't have to sign anything.
Yeah.
So they made a lot more streamlined.
You want to add one? Well, we got 4 act, oh, you know what? Governing council input might be our chance also at least to begin addressing the succession process. Because we have a closed session to discuss limited personnel matters, but those should only be matters that are personal to him. They could be like evaluation sort of things.
Okay.
Any personal issues, but the process for selecting a new director is an open meeting sort of discussion. And I think it's perfectly fine to address it in governing council input if anybody has anything they want to say.
I did ask about what we should do. And the only thing I was told is just to get it in writing that you're not
Sure.
for the council. That was it,
Yeah.
something signed by.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
I can
only
give you a.
They asked. What we do as a council.
So I heard sort of I don't know if it was consensus, but comments that we shouldn't bother with a national search. And before we discount that, I would ask, was the national search problematic because of who we worked with? Because my first job, I was hired with a national search and we used it at the school I taught at back east. It was a different kind of school, but I wondered if the fault is less with the idea of a national search than with who we worked with.
We started the national search and it was expensive and we got very few hits. I remember it was like it was a lot and we got almost nothing.
Do you remember how much it was?
8,000.
Yeah. I
No,
thinking
that
it
was,
less
that
than-
was, that was
consultant.
higher, that was a consultant. This is before we hired him.
Oh,
We tried national searches, we went to the national teacher sites, we went.
I think we advertise
I'm
everywhere
confusing two different
personally.
things.
Yeah, no, we have.
Those are two different
everywhere and
things,
we
yeah.
couldn't get any good applications, so that's why we went to
HYA.
higher,
So when you all were saying we shouldn't do that, what you meant was we shouldn't do this national search thing, not we shouldn't use HYA.
I'm not opposed
I
to
didn't say
anything.
either of those things.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to
Thank
any
you
of
for the
it,
correction.
yeah.
Okay, because my feelings, we should use them. Or something
I
like that.
think this place nationally would be great, but we tried it, I mean, we can try it again, but.
Well, are there
Well,
other headhunters?
I sort of felt like we tried it as amateurs. Like,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
were trying it, but we didn't really know what we were doing. I mean, no offense, but and that's why I wanted to go with the
That's all right.
because I felt like we weren't necessarily hitting all the spots that we should be hitting. That said, when we did have the consultant, we had to prod him to place ads in certain places. So,
Well, the vetting wasn't what it could have been for at least one of the candidates. Am I misremembering? But
All the applications came from Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas.
I'm talking about vetting.
Yeah, and I think I know who you're talking about.
searches.
Yeah, we did too
I
before. We
think
went to
that's
Sapphire.
Right, unless I'm misunderstanding who.
Yeah, we had,
We had,
I guess we
had
should
the
have mentioned
search,
names.
we had two searches, right? So you're clear on this,
And I
right?
think we're talking about the second one.
I am talking about the second.
And there was a candidate from within New Mexico, director at a different school.
Roseburg.
And that's not what I'm talking about.
No,
Okay.
And I think you felt that, you're saying now, you remember the vetting being inadequate. And
Sort of what we
and I
learned
think
after the fact.
we all got tricked, including
I think,
including the consultants.
Okay.
I think it was inadequate before we got hired. I think he did a great job of vetting. Like he
Well, there
interviewed
was one
personally,
candidate
he
that
made lists,
We misunderstood.
really.
I think so.
Well, I think before him, it was
It was worse.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
I-
We got people in here and then after, when he left, it was like, what was that guy doing here? And like, yeah. no.
Jackie, Cobra used HYA. Do you have any comments on what you thought about how they did over there?
They did really, really well. But one of the things that I heard right now is that one of the things that they first did is that we put it out there, and once we didn't get anybody to apply, that's when we went with them because they are pretty pricey.
Yeah.
But we were really pleased with how they handled themselves. They did the nationwide search really, really good, and we were able to hire a superintendent at that time.
Or was that the guy from Las Cruces?
No, they hired somebody from, I believe that it was the one that they suspended and then he finally left.
That's what I'm talking about. I think he was from Las Cruces.
No,
I don't remember where Spalletta was from.
Spoletta's the name.
yeah, I think he was from Las Cruces, but he's like originally from the east somewhere.
Anyway, saying
yeah.
it did well is kind of colored a bit by how that turned out.
Turned
well,
out.
he also
Well-
was, he's Smith.
Yeah.
Right,
So
he did.
Yeah,
that's
who's
also.
now working with him. He's.
I'm
now
not,
a higher
I'm not
recruiter.
bashing Bash, just
Yeah.
not
I'm
as
just
glowing
glowing,
about what
no.
happened in Cobra as.
Well, and I
But
did-
you know what? Like, in his defense, he did really well. And when I was there in the interview committee, and he blew our socks off, we were like, "Oh my gosh, get him, get him!" And it wasn't until he came in that we were like, "Oh," it was like an eye-opening experience. Like, "Oh."
Do you
So-
think there's anything, so you're saying the fault wasn't with the service, he just
Yeah, it
missed.
wasn't with the service at
Right.
all. Yeah.
And
Well,
Bash did mention we had a 2-year warranty.
Yeah.
And I did call him on it and he goes, it doesn't apply to health or personal issues.
Which
it
is,
doesn't
I
apply
tried.
what-
You
To
got
help
your
with
2-year
personal issues.
warranty.
Yeah.
I'm
right,
working.
exactly.
I had to try, I had to try, I'm trying to save some money here.
Red flag to me that what's Jackie saying, and then essentially the same thing happened in the instance you're talking. So,
very similar,
so.
except that one of them actually serves time in the position.
Yeah. Well, the problem is you
So, I
don't
mean,
know
I think
somebody
that's
until they're there.
Yeah,
It
true.
doesn't have to be you either.
I'm not sure how much of this falls on the responsibility of the GC, but I feel like I can't overlook the root cause of this all, and that is kind of like what you mentioned, the possible restructuring of the position. Obviously, we want people that are going to be healthy and happy and
Alive,
Alive.
yeah.
That's always the goal, and no matter what, it's like a huge position, no matter what. But I guess I'd be curious about the order of operations, like if we're going to advertise for this position, laying out exactly what the responsibilities are, or if someone else would be taking on more responsibility so that the person knows exactly what they're getting into and that we're setting them up for a sustainable situation.
I agree
I don't think
100%.
we on that, and I have said this before, it's not sustainable.
That's not.
So I know we have no money, but we also don't have a sustainable.
So who,
Right.
are we responsible for, like the job responsibilities on that
We
or
don't.
what? Who?
That's a
how
great
does that
question.
happen?
So I am taking that to leadership tomorrow. It's number one on my list is staffing starts in January. We know certain things. We know I won't be returning in this exact position for sure. What do? We do have some retirements that are coming up that will shift some things. So I think that along with that timeline of advertising in January, I need to have for everyone here, like, here's what we're looking for in January. And some ideas on that. I welcome GC input. I think Harry's knowledge and Jen's knowledge of the setup of the school would be helpful in trying to reimagine what this could look like, because I don't know how to fix it, or I would have, right?
It's hard
yeah.
to do it from within.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So, but I think that's so important. I think that has to be a big part of this conversation.
We might get Anthony Smith, who like, you didn't meet him, but he came in and he added structure, like he turned the school around. Everybody was so changed from before, like he did a lot. And
Discussion of specific candidates or potential candidates probably should be in closed session.
well, he's not a candidate. I'm just talking about who came in before her.
I didn't hear you say someone like him. I heard you say him.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, but he's not a candidate.
Well, I didn't know that. For all I knew, you had already talked to him.
He's retired.
You told me you
No,
talked to
no,
them.
no.
So in any case, my
I'm
point
talking
is
about the
specific
director
people.
before her.
Yeah, specific people should be
Yeah, yeah.
left out. And hang on, Jim, I had myself in line.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. I wasn't line of it. It's hard. It is our responsibility to write the job description for the director position.
Okay.
So that is a key part of this restructuring that we're talking about. So I don't know how you would separate the different pieces. Yes, I think we are co-responsible for a lot of it.
I've
And
never.
Jim was next.
involved with that.
Just, I started out on the question of a national versus a local search. I mean, the advantage of local searches is you have people who know the community, you have people who know the way things work. I don't think this is inappropriate to mention, that was one of Wayne's real advantages, because he knew the way, the way Grant County worked. But I would tend to favor a national or at least a regional search, because some 35-year-old Coloradan who's worked in an experiential education school could really make us rethink things, because we're all products of this institution, and there's something really valuable about somebody coming and saying. It's also very risky.
Well,
Somebody doesn't understand the community.
Yeah.
and the problem is, well, the
It's more
only,
expensive.
the thing that hurts us the most is housing.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with the guy we hired, apparently. We dodged a bullet, probably with him, but housing is a big issue. Hospitals, schools, university, for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's why also I like local, is because they're here already. But there's nothing to choose from. It is a great place if somebody's coming from the big city, they're probably gonna come with to get a house, hopefully.
So would you all be okay, me putting on the January agenda, a lengthier discussion about restructuring job teams.
Yeah,
I think that's
I would,
And in advance of that, do we have a current job description?
I'll look for you. I have my contract, but which isn't exactly the job description.
Yeah.
It's not complete enough, but it's a place to start and then I'll see what I can find. I think Dr. Smith has it.
I was gonna say, I think.
Yeah, so.
I have a question too. I'm sorry, Harry.
No problem.
I feel like the state gives you, because you say you have to log into 17 different systems. Yeah,
Those
I
are
feel like
state.
it's the state that's putting this on you. Like, I don't
It's
remember
part of
ever telling you to do anything or refusing you anything. Like, I feel like, oh, the governing council's made their job impossible.
No,
But
no, it's
I
not
hear
you
about
guys.
all these requirements you have to do for the state. It's bad.
Mhm.
That's making your job hard.
No, it's,
When I talk about restructuring, it's not because I think we've done something.
No.
It's because I think there's too much for one person. And it's incumbent upon us to figure out what pieces maybe we can break off in collaboration with leadership,
sure.
so that we're not setting someone else up for this
Right.
situation.
But
Right, so yes, there are all these portals you have to log on to. Do they all have to be logged onto and completed by the director? No. Does the director have to sign off on them? Maybe, right? But there's some possibility there for delegating or otherwise allocating that work.
Well, and I have talked to PCS&M about it, and actually Matt Paul's been working with the state, showing them, because I'm like, this is crazy. And so Matt, they are working on trying to get them into buckets. So maybe there's one login for 7 different things that you do, if it's all finance, right? Or this kind of thing, just to get them into buckets. So I appreciate that Matt took my comment and is taking it to the state level to try and work on that.
That's good.
The other thing PED has done in the last few months is another thing that I had brought up in PCS&M, which is like, if I had just known when stuff was due, like walking into this job and having no calendar of, oh, Title II has to be submitted this day, blah, blah. And I didn't have,
So that's a good example. I used to do Title
Right.
I, Title II, Title IV, Title IX.
but
not
I did
9,
all of
Title
it this
10,
year.
Not 9, someone
Right.
else did that. And you shouldn't have to do it.
Right,
It's
but
piecing
because
it
we
all
had,
Yeah.
because of the staffing situation, Jackie will take that over next year, no question, but this year I did it. And I was, and they're calling me saying, this is doing an hour and a half. And I'm like, I don't even know where to log in.
Right.
And they're trying to get me logins, all of that stuff was crazy stressful, and my stress built because of all of those kinds of situations.
There's the work and then there's figuring out
How
when,
to
how,
even-
where.
Yeah.
Where am I gonna find that?
Yes,
We encountered the
exactly.
same type of problem where it's doing the work is not even the most stressful.
Right.
It's
Right.
The resources and all of the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to figure out the logistics of it.
And tech people not getting you a login and
Yeah.
blah, blah. Yeah, and then bureaucracy.
we had no business manager and the consultant doesn't do everything.
She doesn't
that
do
a
that
business manager does. So she had to take on a lot of the business manager's job.
Yeah.
I think
No,
next
and
year
Jackie
when
being here
Jackie
makes
comes on,
a
that's gonna
huge
go away.
difference.
So that's gonna get rid of a lot
Sure.
of the load of restructuring because we're gonna have
Hopefully.
the relief.
But there is still,
Well. yeah.
beyond that, it is still too big.
Yeah.
What I did through the first quarter is ludicrous and set me up for failure in the second. But even with those supports, it is still, yeah, just so different than a lot of other jobs. And it's like I was talking to Senator-elect Ramos about it, very small municipalities are the same. Like one person has to do what most cities have whole departments for. And so you have that economy of scale.
Anything else for governing council input?
yeah, just a couple observations from the charter renewal. One of the commission members remarked that, and the feedback was very good for the school. It really felt good as somebody connected to the institution to sort of soak it up. But he said, he said our fidelity to experiential education. And he said, the school doesn't try to be project-based learning, experiential college prep school. It says they're experiential and we take all comers. And that was good because I know there was a time when we were, when we went away from think outside the desk to live, learn, lead, and we were going to be a leadership school. And I never felt like that really worked. And there was a push from some GC members to make this a college prep school. And I really think we do need to support our kids who are heading off to college, but we got a completely different clientele at this school. So I like that when he said fidelity, that was important. And I know I'm being recorded, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of the commissioners mentioned being mistreated by WNMU in a very public forum. And that was interesting to me. No names were mentioned beyond the name of the institution, but he was raising a little bit of hell. And I was like, oh, somebody's paying attention. It was the commissioner from our district, to be fair, but it really felt like the commission respected what we were doing here. It was gratifying, besides the fact that the kids and Harry and staff did a marvelous job.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Those are all good observations.
You reminded me that there was also discussion about transportation funding.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we should consider. If they're able to put together enough transportation. Every so often I hear about people in the mining district in particular, but it has also been the case out in on Cliff. If we had a school bus, a to-from bus, they would come to Albert. And it was phrased there as it's correct. I think that it's an equity issue.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Not all families can manage to get their kid all this way if they live somewhere.
I will also say that we are moving all of the books and bikes into a Connex on Friday, and that room will become Avery's classroom because we do not have enough space in this building to house the students we have. So I am all for transportation, but I don't need to do that right this second until we have the space to
Well, I
accommodate
don't think
the
there's
kids. we
funding
need.
now either.
No, and I think the state's going to force it within the next.
That
few
was
years.
the context in which it came up, is
Yeah.
that some members wanted to encourage the state.
I'm
to fund it.
I think it would be great if we could
Properly.
get kids to school.
Is that because they're not using the classroom, in the museum?
It didn't work out. Museum standards and high school kids don't exactly align.
The quietude doesn't.
Yeah, the
seem
quietude.
congruent.
And our kids were polite and respectful.
Yeah,
It wasn't a
They're
good
cutting
fit.
this.
Eating the lunch out of the pottery.
Grabbing the bowl.
All right. So on to action items. We have 4 bars. I would entertain a motion about all 4 unless somebody feels they need to discuss one individually.
I second.
I haven't
Yeah.
entertained it. I haven't heard.
Oh,
the
sorry.
first.
You were very
I'll
good.
make a motion to approve bar 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Second.
Moved by Alex McKenzie, seconded by Jim.
Aye.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. You did? I didn't. You're right next to me. I couldn't hear you. Why? Why do you want these balls? Okay, it passed unanimously. So we have a closed session on the agenda. I put it there because there was some interest in it. Do you want to have that?
I no longer need it.
Okay. I personally don't feel the need for it. Anna, do you?
I don't,
want to?
yeah,
Okay.
no.
In that case,
Move to adjourn.
hearing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Thanks, Jackie.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, Jackie,
Bye.
when is payday? My
It's on the 20th.
20th. I'll text her back. Thank you. Have a
Okay,
good
you're
night.
You have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, too.